Hello all, if you are new, my name is Marin. Welcome to another reading vlog. This week's vlog is going to be all about the buzzword challenges for 2025 and playing catch up so that I am ready for the new month and can cross off all the stuff I should have already read. So if you are not familiar with the buzzword challenge, this is something that I have taken part in for the last 3 years. Basically, Kayla over at Books and Lala comes up with a group of words. She puts one for each month, and your goal is to read a book or books that have that word or that theme of words in the title. So this year for 2025, she also added a cover challenge where she is giving you themes or items that need to be featured on the title. Initially, I was not going to do the Buzz cover, but as I was looking through the prompts, I realized that actually I had books that I wanted to read this year that would work for the prompts. So right now in March, I decided I was going to go ahead and do the cover prompts as well, which is why we need to catch up because I have not read any of the cover prompts for the first 3 months. So that's kind of going to be the focus. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I've read and what I need to read, and then we will get on into the actual reading of the books. So here is the little graphic that she made for the buzzword challenge. As you can see, I have read the January and February prompts, or books that fit those prompts, I should say. So January's prompt was to have the words truth or lies in the title, and I read Dark and Shallow Lies by Ginny Meyer Sane. I actually vlogged this one, so I will link it up above if you'd like to go back and watch it. But that one is checked off. And then for February's prompt, we needed a book with a water-related word in the title, and I read The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon. I didn't vlog this one, but I really loved it and gave it 5 stars. So that means I only have March's buzzword left, and that is to read a book with thing in the title. So you will be seeing that in this vlog. But now let's look at the cover prompts, because that is where I need to do the bulk of the catching up, obviously, since I just decided in March to do those challenges. So for January, the prompt was to read a book with a pattern on the cover. For February, the prompt was to read a book with a skyline on the cover. And for March, the prompt is to read a book with books on the cover. So those are the 3 that I really need to tackle. And then obviously the March buzzword as well. So that is what you're going to see in this vlog. I have some books, obviously, that I have been eyeing for this. I am one that likes to plan out my TBRs. So I have actually already gone through and fit books in for the buzzword and now also the buzz cover prompts. So I do know what I'm reading. It will be a little bit of a surprise for you, but I know what I'm reading. And thankfully, I was able to fit the bulk of these books on my March TBR as well as part of my Bookopoly game. So 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm very glad that that kind of worked out. So anyway, enough rambling. This has been a long enough intro. Let's go ahead and get on into me actually reading the books and sharing my thoughts. So here we go. Let's chat about a novel love story. I did not come back and give you a midway through update. I haven't even talked about what this book is about. So let's go ahead and do that first, and then I'll kind of get into my thoughts. I have been sitting on this for a few days. I finished it a while ago, but I haven't quite really known what to say about it. So I think I'm ready to talk about it. So we're gonna do that right now. Anyway, this book follows Eileen, who for some inexplicable reason goes by the nickname Elsie, which every time she would say that, it would jar me a little bit. I'm not sure how you get Elsie from Eileen, but that's a side note. Anyway, Eileen is supposed to be going to a cabin in the Catskills with the members of her book club, but one by one, all of the members of the book club have pulled out because they have had other things come up. So Eileen is the only one going on this trip. As she is driving, this thunderstorm pops up. She decides to pull into a small town to kind of wait it out, spend the night, and the small town that she finds herself in turns out to be the setting of her favorite like romance book series that is unfinished because the author passed away before she could finish the 5th book. So this town features all of the characters that Eileen has come to know and love through the books, and that's kind of where this starts off. Now, I have a couple of issues with this book. I do want to say that going into this, I did have a feeling that I wasn't going to love this one because this is not as well received as the author's previous 2 books, which I do want to read at some point, but this one fit the Buzz cover prompt for a book on the cover, so that's why I went ahead and read this one first. Now, one of the issues that I have with this book is that because we are thrust into this fictional town, we are getting all of these various backstories and things for all of the characters in the book series. Eileen obviously feels very connected to them. This is her favorite book series of all time, but as a reader, getting all of these miscellaneous backstories and being introduced to all of these characters was a little clunky, and I felt like it kind of weighed the narrative down a little bit. There was just too much going on with all of the different characters. Eileen kind of like finagles her way into their lives, and I think a lot of time was spent on that didn't need to be spent on that. So that is my first issue, if you will, with this book. The bigger issue is the romance. So Eileen meets Anders, who runs the town bookstore, but he is not a character that she's familiar with. So she gets it in her head that he is like the love interest or the main character of what would have been the 5th book. And he is very mean to her, like cruel, downright cruel. He is a total asshole, in fact, to her for the first like 30% of this book. And then at that point, it's like this switch flips, and all of a sudden he is like calling her sweetheart, and they're kissing, and it just didn't work. I felt no chemistry between the 2 characters, and I just really couldn't get over how he treated her at the beginning. There's also something that happens in like the 3rd act breakup scene that just was ridiculous and didn't work for me at all. And all in all, this just was not my favorite. When I first rated this, I gave it 3, but now that I'm talking about it here, I think I'm gonna put it down to a 2. I just really didn't like this one. I didn't feel like it was a cohesive enough story. I don't feel like I connected with any of the characters. The romance was very flat, and yeah, I didn't enjoy this one. I know that The 7-Year Slip is probably her most well-known one, and that is actually on my 12 books in 2025 TBR, so I will be reading that one. I'm not like writing this author off, but this one definitely doesn't work for me. I see why it has low-ish ratings, and I see why a lot of people didn't like it. So it's a bummer that I didn't like it, but I kind of had that feeling going in that that would be a possibility, so ultimately I'm not surprised. But it does cross off a Buzz cover prompt, so hooray for that. Hopefully my next read will be a little bit more exciting. Hello all, reading update time for All the Dangerous Things. I am almost halfway through. I believe it says like 44%. It's chapter 27, which is page 144. I am enjoying this a lot so far. We are following a woman named Isabel whose son, her 18-month-old son, Mason, was taken from their home a year prior to the start of the book. And this is basically her trying to figure out what happened to her child and deal with the grief of losing him in the way that she did. So she still holds out hope that he is alive and will be found. She has become estranged from her husband, who basically is of the belief that he is gone and they need to move on. She is unable to do that. On top of that, she is dealing with horrendous insomnia to the point where she has not had a full night's sleep in a year since her son was taken. So she is a bit of an unreliable narrator because she catches these like 20-second, 1-minute cat naps periodically, and things happen that she maybe can't remember and that sort of thing. On top of that, we are getting a story from Isabel's childhood where she slept so deeply she actually was prone to sleepwalking. So it's like two extremes. And we're getting those flashbacks. We're getting current day, which is where her son is missing. And then we are also getting chapters that explain how she met her estranged husband and their relationship. So there's a bit of flipping around, but the audiobook is doing a good job of distinguishing like what is happening when, so I've not been confused with anything. There's definitely a nice atmosphere in this book of wondering what's going on, who to trust, suspense, that sort of thing. So I am really liking it. It is a very quick read, so hopefully I will have it finished tomorrow, but it is going very well, which I am thankful for. This is the first book by this author that I have ever read, and I definitely have other things by her that are on my want to read list, but obviously want to finish this one in its entirety before I decide if she's for sure going to be an author for me. But yeah, so this one's going well. Halfway about through, which means tomorrow I will be able to come back and give you probably an update because I'm assuming I will finish it at work. And yeah, so far so good. Again, this is for Thing in the title, which is the March buzzword. So I'm glad it's going well. I don't always have the best luck with domestic thrillers, and I feel like that's more what this is. So yes, very much enjoying it so far and hope that that will continue. In other news, I did go to the library yesterday and I picked up 2 books that are not for this vlog. Actually, one of them was supposed to be for this vlog, but it took forever for the audiobook hold to come in and I wanted to get something else read in its stead, but that is Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I've never read anything by her. I wanted this to be my February buzzword because it was a water word in the title. See, I'm kind of wondering if this counts as a skyline though. Like, I'm very curious. Can I get away with counting this as a skyline? If so, you may see this later in this video. I'm gonna have to think on it. I think it counts. There's like a very delineated mark. So does that count? Can I go with it? Maybe. But yes, I really want to read this one. I've heard really good things and you may see this. The other one that I picked up is definitely not going to be for this vlog, but that is Come Tumbling Down. This is the 5th book in the Wayward Children series. I have kind of an unofficial goal to finish the series this year. I read book 3 in January, book 4 in February, and would like to get to book 5 in March. So those were my 2 library picks along with this one. So a very blue book stack. But yes, that's my little library haul. So hooray for that. Now I'm really thinking if this will count because I would really like to read it. I have it on Libby. Decisions. Okay, I literally just Googled what skyline. It says the apparent juncture of earth and sky. I definitely think this counts and I really want to read this one. So we're gonna go with this for the skyline prompt. Here's a screenshot of the definition. I promise I'm not making that up. So yes, I'm excited because I don't have very long left to read this one on Libby. Like I only have like a handful of days left. So this is perfect. Okay. This is gonna be what I read next in this vlog. I'll just go ahead and let you know right now. So after I finish this one, I will be starting this one. Yay. Okay, I'm super excited. If you've read this one, feel free to share your thoughts down below. Obviously, I will do that later in the vlog, but yes, skyline. Very nice. Also, side note, this actually also has a skyline. Who knew? But anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. Crazy. Okay, reading update time. I have finished All the Dangerous Things and I'm giving it 4 stars. I felt like this was a really solid thriller. It had some aspects that I did find surprising, although I had a pretty good idea of who was ultimately responsible in the end for the disappearance of Mason, the 18-month-old. I did not have the full circumstances figured out. So there were some twists and turns, even though I was not shocked again at like the whodunit aspect, but I really liked this. It was a very well-written thriller. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It kept me invested in the story, and it kept me eagerly listening, in this case, because I did listen on audio, to the narration to see what was going to happen. So very solid book. I'm very glad to have read it. I have A Flicker in the Dark on my TBR, and I know she has a new one coming out later this year, I believe, so I may check that one out as well. I'm gonna kind of see how A Flicker in the Dark goes before I make any definitive decisions, but I really liked this, and I'm glad that I gave it a read. I'm glad that Buzzword gave me a reason to finally pick it up, and yeah, I would recommend it. So if you're interested, if it sounds interesting, I say go for it, because I had a good time with it. Okay, let's chat about Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I really had no idea what this was about before I picked it up. I knew it was sci-fi. That was the extent of my knowledge. It's time travel specifically, and it follows 4 different people and various time periods. So each point of view is a different part. So part 1 is set in 1912, and we are following Edwin. Then part 2 was about Mirella, which is set in 2020, right before the COVID pandemic really kicks into gear. And then part 3 is following an author whose name is Olive, and that is 2203. And then finally we have Gasperi, and that is 2401. So those are our 4 time periods. I am assuming somehow all of these time periods are going to become linked together. There's already been talk of like an anomaly that people have like either stumbled into or noticed that has been mentioned in several of the points of view. So I know that that is going to somehow play a role, but other than that, I don't really have a lot more to say. I'm enjoying this. I'm finding it interesting, but it's not amazingly well written in my opinion. Like obviously I have half the book left, so things could change. I don't know what I would rate this right now, but I definitely am ready to kind of see all of these storylines kind of coalesce maybe into like one overarching one. I don't know if that's what we're gonna get, but yeah. It just says it's a novel of time travel and metaphysics that precisely captures the reality of our current moment, because it was written during the COVID pandemic, so that is why that kind of plays a role in here. Pandemics actually pop up a couple times. So yeah, I am enjoying it. I'm curious to see how it will go for the remainder of the book. As I said, I have a little over half left to read. I think my audiobook is at like 44%. So this should be done within the next couple of days, and I can give you full thoughts then, hopefully. But this is like the first true sci-fi that I have read in a very long time. So it's been kind of interesting to kind of dive back into that genre and to kind of look at the time travel aspect. So that's kind of some initial thoughts. I'm finding it very interesting, but I'm not like super engaged or invested as of yet. So we'll see what happens. I'm glad to have finally had a reason to read this, thankfully, the whole, you know, skyline thing that I was talking about. And yeah, I'm hoping I will enjoy this for the remainder of the book. So I will come back and chat with you once I have it finished, and hopefully we'll be able to like bring my thoughts together into something cohesive. All right, I have finished Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. I am not really sure what I think about this, if I'm being honest. I came away kind of with a kind of feeling. I liked it, and I'm interested in reading more from her, but I felt like this one had a bit of an abrupt ending, and I also never truly connected with any of the characters. I found the whole idea of time travel and what the main problem of this book is very interesting. And there was something very beautiful about the writing. Her storytelling is really great. She has a great way with words, but I'm still just kind of like left kind of, like I just don't know what I think about it ultimately, and it's been a couple days now. So I'm giving it 3 stars just to be safe, but I did really like the writing and I would like to read more from Emily St. John Mandel. I'm curious if her other books will like hit more solidly. I'll come away with like maybe like a definitive thought, because for this one I just really don't have one. So I'm just settling at the 3-star for lack of a better rating to give it. But I did really like the way she has with like turning a phrase and things like that. So there were some very good points of this book. I'm just maybe too dumb to really grasp like what exactly the book was talking about. Sci-fi is not a genre that I read a whole ton of, and this is very much like true sci-fi, so maybe that's also playing a role. I don't know. But if you have read anything else by her, I know she wrote, what is it, The Glass Hotel, and what's the other one called? Station 11. I have Station 11 on my want to read list on Goodreads, so that one I had been kind of eyeing anyway. But if you could choose between The Glass Hotel or Station 11 and you have read both of them, let me know which one you would recommend. This one, like I said, I did enjoy it. I'm really glad I read it because it has been on my radar for a really long time. It's just not something that I personally am gonna give like 4 or 5 stars just because I'm not sure what I think about it. So I can't really settle on like a super high rating. So yes, there were things that I enjoyed about it. I liked the narration of the audiobook, but yeah, 3 stars feels about right for this one. So that means I have one final book for this vlog to be completely caught up on all of the buzzword things, the covers, the words, etc. So let's roll right on into the last book and see what my rating is on that one. I have high hopes. So here we go. All right, y'all, let's chat about Daisy Hates. I am actually almost finished with this book, so I just have this little bit left. I think it's like under 100 pages. I am currently on page 327, and there are 410 pages. So I have a little under 100 pages left, and I will be finishing this within the next like hour or so. So let's chat about Daisy Hates. One thing I did not realize until Kayla actually read this book was that this is basically a companion to Magnolia Parks, and they are happening simultaneously. So the stuff that we already read about in Magnolia Parks, some of it is featured in Daisy Hates. We are following Daisy, obviously, as the main character. We also have POVs from her brother Julian and Christian, who plays a role in Magnolia Parks. He is part of Magnolia and BJ's friend group, if you will. This one, however, is a lot darker in nature because Daisy and Julian are part of like a crime family of some kind. Julian is involved with like art smuggling and art theft and other not so great things, and Daisy is his little sister, so obviously she is under like constant supervision basically because they fear for her life. She is a med school student. She is very, very bright. She is only 20 and she's already in med school. And her and Christian have this friends with benefits relationship that slowly develops feelings and turns into something more. So that's kind of the setup. One thing that I find really funny in this book is that Daisy's opinion of Magnolia a lot of times aligns with my opinion of Magnolia as I was reading Magnolia Park. So she basically is like just fed up with Magnolia and how Magnolia has all these guys like just leaping to her defense and all kind of like stumbling over themselves to like do whatever it is that she wants them to do. And I agree. I think that that is something that Daisy and I have in common. So I really, really like that. This does have some humor in it, which I really liked. And there have been some really cute scenes between her and Christian. So at the point of the book that I am at, we have had kind of a big blow up between Daisy and Christian, which does happen, like that is featured in Magnolia Park, so you know that that's coming. One thing that I am enjoying is getting Christian's point of view, because obviously he is featured a lot in Magnolia Parks, but it's nice to have like his point of view and see what he was thinking and that sort of thing. So I'm really, really liking that aspect. I do like Daisy more as a character than I did Magnolia, and I like the POVs in this one more than I liked BJ and Magnolia's POV in the first book. So I kind of had heard that people like this one better, and I concur, but I do like how they're being told like simultaneously. So it's just kind of interesting to see the events from the first book from Daisy's point of view. But anyway, I am enjoying this a lot. I would say it took me a bit to get into, but now that I'm into it, I am really enjoying it. It's a pretty quick read, despite the fact that it's like a decently chunky book. Let me actually compare it. I have Magnolia Parks right here. So both of the books are like of comparable size, but I feel like I'm getting through this one faster, maybe just because I'm more invested in the characters. It definitely, as I said, has a different vibe because we have like the crime family type stuff going on. Julian's POVs are related to some kind of deal that he has made with somebody about an art piece. And then we are getting kind of flashbacks to his and Daisy's childhood and how Julian became like the head of the family after their parents were killed. This one, even though it is like toxic romance, and there's a lot of not nice stuff happening, it does not have like that darker undertone, with the exception of BJ's drug use. So definitely different vibes between the two, but I do think I'm liking this one better. I gave Magnolia Parks 4 stars, so we'll kind of see where this one ends up, but I am liking it. Obviously going to continue with the series. There is a lot of toxicity in this one as well, a lot of using other people to get back at other people in terms of like personal relationships. So that is the same as this one. But yeah, I am liking Daisy Hates quite a bit. So I will be finishing this soon, and then I will come back and give you like full final thoughts on it. But it's going well. I am enjoying it. And yeah, we'll see what my final rating ends up as. All right, y'all, I have finished Daisy Hates. The ending of this book was painful, not because it was badly written, but because some things go down that really kind of shake Daisy's entire world, and it's just really kind of heartbreaking to like watch her go through that. So definitely teared up a little bit, particularly Christian's last chapter. He is the one that kind of ends Daisy's story, because the last chapter of this book actually flips back to Magnolia, I think, to kind of prep you for this one, which is The Long Way Home. I thought maybe it was like gonna be a repeat or whatever, but it's not. So the end of this one is another Magnolia chapter, and it sets this up because something kind of happens at the end or in that chapter as well that's kind of sad, although I appreciate that it happened. That's all I'll say. And yeah, it kind of sets this book up. So yes, interesting. Another thing I want to point out before I get into like my final review is that this is the self-published version of this story. I know that they have been published with new covers. I don't know if they have been edited, but there are typos and things in this book. Like there were some phrases that were repeated and things like that. Some incorrect pronouns where it was like she instead of he or whatever. And the audiobook cleared that up a little bit, like did it correctly, but there were also parts of this book that the audio completely left out, like especially like the text message exchanges. There were a few that weren't in the audiobook at all. So just throwing that out there, if you're going to do the audio, it does not align completely with this version of the book. These are the UK covers because I just like them better than like the generic shoe covers that they have out in the US. But anyway, all of that is to say I really enjoyed this, and because I gave Magnolia Parks 4 stars and I liked this one better, I am going to give this 5 stars. I teared up at the end. As I said, there was just a lot that happened right at the end that kind of really makes your heart hurt for Daisy, and it makes me very curious to read this 3rd book at some point. I would like to read all 5 of them that have been written so far this year. There is going to be at least one more Daisy book because the final book she wrote was a Magnolia book, and obviously we go from Magnolia to Daisy to Magnolia to Daisy to Magnolia to Daisy, but the Daisy book has not been written yet. So I at least would like to read what's been written and then kind of be ready for whenever she gets the 6th book written. She is having some issues writing it right now, so I don't know when that would be. So it's not like a pressing need to read them, but I would like to kind of cross this series off, at least in terms of what's been published. But yes, I really liked this one. Everything that I've already said kind of stands for the remainder of this book as well. The action definitely kind of ramps up in terms of Julian and his crime lord job, if you will, in the last few chapters. Some lines are crossed, which is what makes Daisy kind of have this like earth-shattering realization about herself and her brother and their family that they have created. And yeah, I really liked this book a lot. So 5 stars for this one. This is a great way to close out the vlog, and it does get me excited for whenever I will get around to this one. This one is very chunky though, so I don't know that this will happen anytime soon, but obviously now I'm ready for it whenever I find the time. But yes, 5 stars for this one. So I would say overall this vlog was definitely a success. So let's kind of do a little recap, and then I'll also show you the graphic. So obviously the first book I read was a novel love story. I gave this one 2 stars. Didn't love it, but it does work for books on the cover. 1 book, but I'm counting it. Then I read All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This was a 4-star read, and this was for a thing in the title. Then I read Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel, which was for Skyline on the cover. And finally, Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This was for Pattern on the cover. So yay, 4 books read, and I had something of like every rating. So 5, 2, 3, 4. So there you go. Nice variety. Also nice variety of genres, which I really liked as well. And yeah, this was a success. I am caught up on Buzzword. Hopefully I can stay on track as we go throughout the course of the year. I haven't fully decided if I'm going to do a Buzzword vlog each month or not. You may see it, you may not. It will kind of just depend. My next vlog is going to be focusing on middle grade because I do want to participate in middle grade March. So that will be the vlog that you see next. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this one and coming along with me as I worked to check off the Buzzword and Buzz cover prompts. So let me scoot over and we'll put the graphics up here. So here is where I am with the Buzzword challenge, and here is where I am with the Buzz cover challenge. So 6 books read, really nice, and overall a successful vlog. So anyway, if you made it to the end of this video and would like to leave me an emoji to show me that you were here, you can leave me the moon emoji in honor of Sea of Tranquility and the moon colonies that exist in this book. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel if you would like to see more from me. And I will see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.